Wow. I'm so busy checking emails that the time snuck up on me. 4:44 already. Wow. Anyway, let me just read the blurb and then share with you some of the things that I've noticed this morning. Seeing the world through new eyes and a loving heart. To me, it has been an essential part of the process that as many people as possible become aware of truths about our world that were long hidden, especially all the outright lies we have been told by the system that includes virtually all of our institutions. The disinformation we have been fed produced a distorted picture of who and what we are. That is changing. Many people are becoming aware that love is and must be the quintessential element, the very core of any philosophy, religion, or ideology. That idea is being birthed within us, and it is also being seeded in the very atmosphere of our world by cosmic influences. This will continue to have major positive repercussions in our lives that will enable us to see the world through new eyes and a loving heart. This is the new paradigm in action, being played out on the stage of human experience. This is the awakening. When I woke up this morning, before I even went into the meditation room, I asked myself the question, what am I going to talk about today? And that's actually how I've been feeling a lot in recent weeks, when I really do not know what my next topic is going to be. And as I went into the meditation room and began to pray for the various people that came to mind, as I usually do, and as I pondered the things that have been happening in my life, and including the meeting here last night, in which my friend Cindy shared about her experience in pagan traditions, how she grew up in a Protestant home, as she put it, but always felt connected to nature and always felt more of a calling toward a pagan system of belief, but she doesn't want to narrow it down to one particular type of paganism. She wants to be inclusive and set up something that is open to everybody. And I love that inclusivity. I'd like that to mark all of the people in my world and in my life, that everyone that is close to me recognizes the value and the importance of including everyone and allowing everyone to express their particular point of view, their particular experience, and just simply learning to love each other by not necessarily agreeing with everything that everyone says and does. That's virtually impossible because we all have our filters. But to be able to see through the eyes of love and through a heart of love, this is so, so important. And we had last night a lady who came, and she's visiting her mother, and she lives up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And she's been watching me, as she says, for 2.5 years. And as she started to share a little bit, tears began to form a little bit in her eyes. You know, she was amazed at how often the very thing that I shared was exactly what she's needed to hear and what she's going through, that it spoke to her directly, like I was just talking to her. I don't know how many times I've heard people say that from all over the world, from different cultures, and it amazes me how by just being willing to be in a place where I speak from my heart, sometimes not knowing what I'm going to talk about, not knowing what I'm going to say, but being willing to put myself in front of the camera and record it and then post it to YouTube and to Facebook, just telling the world this is what's going on right now for me. How often that has been a blessing to people. And I so appreciate Patty coming all the way from Minnesota to Florida and touching base with me while she was here and connecting with me at one of our meetings. And then my friend who is legally blind, she was able to get a ride, and I was so appreciative of that. The individual that I would have that I asked to pick her up and bring her didn't do it, but it was arranged so that she did have transportation here. And it was also amazing to me, since this was the first meeting that we ever had here where we actually created something physical. There was actually a craft that we created, a witch's ladder, she called it. And it's just merely braiding strings or yarn or whatever, and putting intentions in. The intentions are like the spokes in the ladder, and the rope in the middle, the braid in the middle is the I should have brought it out, but it's in the other room. That's the center of the ladder, and then the rungs are on the side so that you'd be going up, like holding the rope, I guess, if you were climbing it like a ladder. That's the image that I have of why it's called a ladder. But she dispelled a lot of the things about witchcraft and paganism and some of the early beliefs. And if people understood that initially, before there was religion, people developed their own rituals and their own knowledge, and people worked a lot closer with nature. And as religion began to take its effect, a lot of that energy was suppressed, and yet the practices couldn't be stopped because they were embedded in people. So the church, actually, the Catholic Church, integrated the pagan beliefs and gave them new names and new meaning, but it was still the same, a lot of the same practices. And folks, if I could dispel any myth, it's the myth that we are really different from each other. If only we would open our hearts and open our ears and listen to the other person tell their story. Just listen to them. We'd find that we're so much more alike than we are different. And we'd recognize that some of the things that we do and some of the beliefs that we have are just expressed in different words, but at the core, it's the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want to be free. We all want to be loved. We all want to be left alone to do whatever it is that our heart and our life is calling us to do, so long as, and then this is what Cindy emphasized, paganism is do what you will. That's the maxim. Do what you will, but harm no one. And if you do harm someone, it's going to come back to you threefold so that you'll get your lesson. That's part of the belief, her understanding of the belief of paganism, whether it's Wiccan, whether it, whatever the Celtic or Druidic thing may be, or even Native American, which is very much pagan, and indigenous anything, which is all very pagan in origins, shamanism, etc. It's all pagan, but it's about life. And we don't need to build walls and barriers and say, well, I'm right and you're wrong. That concept of I'm right and you're wrong is probably at the core of most religious warfare, and much of the warfare we've experienced in our world has to do with people holding different beliefs and using different names for God and different ways of explaining their particular life and practice and system. And there's really, at the heart, at the core of it, there's really no difference. There's really no difference. But I started to say earlier that the lady that is most sight impaired, She's not totally blind. She still has 2300 vision in one eye. The other eye is almost totally blind, but she still has some vision, even though she has to use a magnifying glass, and she doesn't see as clearly as somebody with 20/20 vision sees. But she actually, her ladder was probably the nicest one in the whole room. And it was mind-boggling. Here's but she trusts her feelings. She follows her heart and uses her intuition. Her other senses, even though her sight is not very perfect, she has great control over the rest of her connectivity. She's actually become more connected as she lost her sight than she was before. More connected to herself, more connected to nature and reality, and she's extremely open. She wants to learn about the different religions. We need to do that, folks. It's okay to believe that you've got something, that your religion produces something of value, something that's good, but God is in everything. And that was what Cindy kept saying last night. All of it goes back to source, and source is God. And it doesn't matter what words you apply, whether it's Jehovah or Allah or Yahweh uh, or Brahman or Kali or Great Spirit or Mother Mary or Kuan Yin or Buddha or Jesus or whatever name you want to apply to the divine. They're just names. It's one source. And we're all connected in that one source. This is the web of life. And we're becoming more aware of it. And as we do become more and more aware of it and stop thinking that we're right and people that have a different way about them are automatically wrong, and we stop burning witches at the stake, and we start recognizing that they have something to offer that is of value to the community, and we are all together in the world community. We are all together in this, and as we recognize this and we stop fighting each other and we stop fighting ourselves and judging ourselves, which is where the external fighting comes from, because we do it within ourselves, as we awaken to this and as we heal and become whole and start allowing the parts of ourselves that we've shamed, the parts of ourselves that we've told you're wrong, and stop being the listening to the inner critic, and instead embrace even the inner critic till it starts being complimentary instead of critical. This transformation is going on in people's lives right now, today, and it's accelerating, as I said, because the stuff within us is being awakened. That includes the dark and the light. It includes everything. It's being awakened within us. And at the same time, as I said, the cosmos is conspiring to seed the galaxy, seed the solar system, seed our planet with, I don't know whether you want to call it photons or what, or just information, but our environment is literally changing, even though the dark keeps trying to do everything it can to stop it from happening. They can't succeed, because the universe's desire, or the source, God's desire for us to excel, for us to be fulfilled, is greater than anything that our ego or that our ego representation in the matrix can possibly throw at us. We are so adaptable. Even all the poisons are going to be we're going to see ultimately that they've actually been working to help produce the change to create the new humanity that changes the whole world. It's transformation from the inside out and from the outside in. It doesn't matter which way it works. Do you understand that? Everybody says, well, it's got to happen inside first. It does. The inside outside are just words. It's all one thing. It's not either or. It's both and. And that's the message that Spirit was trying to get me to see, and has been for actually a long time trying to get me to see, that it's both and. It's all important. It all has value. Even the dark things that happen to us have value. And when we start seeing that, it changes everything. We start seeing with new eyes. We start connecting the dots. And we do it all through a loving heart. that is made more and more whole, so that we experience that holistic healing, that holistic health, that holistic wellness of allowing everything to be in its place and to play its role and to do its thing, and recognizing that all along the tapestry of life has been weaving this beautiful picture, and soon we're going to be able to see that picture in all of its beauty and all of its glory. Thank you for letting me share with you again this morning, or whatever time of day it is for you. I trust you'll have a beautiful day and continue to ponder these things in your heart and mind. Namaste.